Hi, I want to get back here to speak regarding the FIFA World Cup 2026 that will be hosted by the USA-led bid, with the first time 48 teams included in the tournament. My issue here, as I have mentioned before, is in regards of the format that will lead us to have odd groups. Indeed, the FIFA has proposed 16 groups of three during the group stage. In this context, you will have a spectator team in match day 3 having its fate between two other countries. It's against fair play, it could lead to sports injustice, and it's also a spectacle spoiler for the fans. Advocating a new group stage format is what I want to bring here in this video, consisting of 12 groups of four, with the top two of each group plus the eight best third finishers, overall making it to the last 32 round. I've already been speaking about this idea and I am elaborating it furthermore herein. The number of games from this perspective will increase from 80 to 104. In the United bid, the United States could increase its games from 60 to 64, Canada from 10 to 20, including two last 32 games and one last 16 game, Mexico from 10 to 20, including two last 32 games and one last 16 game, the rest of the tournament being held in the United States. Few stadiums added to the ones in the bid should not constitute an issue, I do believe. The risk is not the host or the capacity to organize, but it's mostly the high potential of going versus fair play and having setups in the group stage match day 3 within the current format that is proposed by FIFA. The USA-led bid wants to make this the greatest FIFA World Cup, and must lead as a pioneer for this context and also for the future organizing committees of 48 teams format in the FIFA World Cup. That's why it's very important to act upon this as soon as possible. In addition, 24 more games means more revenue for the international organizations involved in the tournament, including FIFA, for sponsors, for the private sector. So why FIFA wants to gamble with its most important event when all the other big events has a square ending to the group stage? This includes the FIFA Confederations Cup, the FIFA Women's World Cup, all categories, senior, under 20, under 17, the Olympic football tournaments, the FIFA under 20 and under 70 FIFA World Cups for men, as well as the UEFA European Championships, the African Cup, Copa America, the CONCACAF Gold Cup, and the AFC Asian Cup. So all the big tournaments have groups of four. Also, the club competitions, the Champions Leagues, and others. There is always home and away games between four teams per group with six match days. All the teams finishing the games of the group at the same time. Of course, there is only the case of the FIFA Club World Cup format between brackets that I have also spoken about in a former video by suggesting to move to an 8 teams format. Please refer to my video that was published on January the 12th, 2018, titled Soccer Information, January 2018, starting from minute 4. To get back to the FIFA World Cup, 48 teams, with this proposition of 12 groups of four, the timing should not constitute an issue, even compared to the 32 teams tournaments that is ongoing presently. The tournament could be compressed with 48 teams with the proposition that I'm speaking about in 37 days. The group stage in 18 days, 4 games a day. The last 32 in 4 days, 4 games a day. The last 16s in 4 days, 2 games a day, 2 days off. The quarterfinals in 2 days, 2 games a day, 2 days off. The semifinals in 2 days, 1 game a day, 2 days off. And during the last day, we could play the final for the third players few hours before the big final. So to get back historically here in regards of the reminder showing the flows of groups of three in the FIFA World Cup. During the first edition in Uruguay in 1930, among the 20 invited teams, only 13, including Uruguay, showed up to start the tournament. And there was one group of four and three groups of three. Those are consisting of the ones of Uruguay with Romania and Peru, the one of the United States with Paraguay and Belgium, and the one with Yugoslavia with Brazil and Bolivia. Then in the fourth FIFA World Cup in 1950, there was one group of three consisting of Sweden, Italy, and Paraguay. This number, the odd number as I call it, came back during the second phase of the FIFA World Cup 1982 in Spain when the tournament has expanded to 24 teams. So the second round had the half of the teams that qualified from the group stage playing in four groups of three. One with Italy, Brazil, Argentina. The second one with West Germany, England, and Spain. Then one with Poland, the USSR, and Belgium, and finally one with France, Austria, and Northern Ireland. And we have noticed at every occasion the inconvenience of having a team watching per se from its hotel the two others concluding the final ranking of the group stage, the second group stage in the case of 1982. Not that in 1950 there could have been another group of three, but since another team did not show up on the tournament, Uruguay and Bolivia were having a group of two and they played against each other to qualify to the final round. But this is safer than a group of three because at least you're in a knockout round and you decide your own fate while playing the game to qualify. It looks like the first round of the 1934 and 1938 FIFA World Cup. The 1954 FIFA World Cup in Switzerland came with a new format. So, indeed, four groups of four were accepted, but only two match days were played, which means the team that wins in match day two and had 2 points at the time, which was the value for the victory, could not play the third match day. Instead, and like it has been used during the 1934 and 1938 tournaments, since there was no penalties neither, there were games that were replayed. And in the 1954 tournament, there was something alike with a playoff to be played between the teams of the group to define who's going to be the second one in the group to qualify to the quarterfinals, which was the case in that tournament of Germany playing against West Germany, sorry, playing against Turkey and winning 7-2. And the other game was Switzerland beating Italy 4-1. Then in Sweden in 1958, tournament has moved finally to three match days for the four groups of four, but the playoffs were always maintained to define the second place in case of a tiebreak as a tiebreaker. And here you had on those playoffs Northern Ireland beating Czechoslovakia, Wales overcoming Hungary, and finally the USSR advancing to the quarterfinals at the expense of England. But we finally fall down to the four groups of four with three match days and the goal average tiebreakers starting from the 1962 edition in Chile. And as you could see, the World Cup has been a leader for all the other tournaments, major tournaments that I mentioned earlier, when it comes to the format and the best organization possible. And to me, all these tournaments having a group stage of four and the FIFA World Cup regressing backward to group stage of three is the least thing you can expect, especially from the biggest tournament on earth. So I do believe from this angle that the United States, including President Trump and the country as a whole, must lead to different sports justice as the first organizer of this first 48 teams tournament and influence FIFA to move to this better format within the 2026 tournament, where sports people from 48 national associations will come to North America to offer the most beautiful game. Thank you for listening.